Hey there, it's Nick. While Alan is on paternity leave, congrats, Alan, join us in watching episodes from The Greatest Adventure, Stories from the Bible. It's the cartoon that Adam constantly references, was made by Hanna-Barbera, and has some surprising voice casting. This week, we're talking Queen Esther, which you can find on Amazon, Google Play, or YouTube for free. Welcome to the King James Virgin, where each and every week my friends Alan and Adam recount Bible stories from their childhoods to me. I've never heard them before. My name is Nick.
My name's Adam.
And forget all that because we're not doing that.
Nope. I mean, at this point, they should be. I mean, I guess you could just like jump into the feed at this point. But if you are
and you
jumping
listen to the disclaimer,
right, go back 2 episodes and start there.
Maybe.
Or anywhere.
Yeah.
But like 2 episodes ago make more sense for what we're doing today.
Right. So we are continuing our series of talking about The Greatest Adventure, Stories from the Bible, with the Queen Esther episode.
And I like that they gave her a title.
Yes.
I do feel a little bit like this series specific, because they did the same with Samson and Delilah. Like they are adding more to the titles than is justified. Like they didn't say, like, we did the Jonah and the Not a Whale, which I feel like they should have done. Yes. Given all of this, or called it Jonah and the Whale, and then
well, it is weird that they don't do it for some of them.
Right.
So this was 1986 chronologically. So this is between Samson and Jonah,
but like closer to Samson.
Yes, I think it's right after Samson, actually.
Which is interesting because the eyebrow thing, this is where it's starting.
I actually, you made me notice it, so I'm noticing it now. And primarily, it's the mismatch is just black. Like it's usually just like dark.
So
eyebrows.
In this one, in the later one, it's the inverse. So darker hair, lighter eyebrows.
Oh, okay, that's weird.
Right?
Yeah. At first, when I started noticing it in this episode, I thought that it was maybe just like they were calling attention to like facial features that they could easily manipulate. Sure. But it is interesting then that sometimes they would be lighter.
Right.
Don't pay attention to this character.
No.
Yeah.
They're also, I don't know if you noticed this, but there is a massive extremes in the number of or amount of detail put into different characters' faces.
Yep.
Like Haman? Yeah, Haman has like a billion facial characteristics.
There's weird face contorting going on a lot in this episode.
Especially
a lot.
His face just like full on Jim Carrey, like
yeah. So I feel like we always have to preface these episodes with something that's not the episode.
Yeah. What do you got?
So we've talked a lot about cartoons and growing up with them, and I wonder if you grew up with any action figures from cartoons.
No. Well, I had like a G.I. Joe.
One
singular.
Like the guy?
Must have been Joe.
Joe?
I assume it was Joe. Joseph.
Yes.
G.I. Joseph. Mm-hmm. And did I have anything? So not really.
Did you have religious?
No. Oh, God,
okay.
No.
Okay.
No. My parents were very much fans of improvised toys in the sense that like, so I had a lot of Legos. It was about
watermelon with googly eyes.
Yes. No, a lot of boxes, honestly. Like every time my parents would go by.
You were a cat growing up.
Correct. I was a cat growing up. No, we had every time my parents would go past, there was I don't think it's in town anymore, but there used to be a appliance store that whenever they had a new fridge, they just put the box out front, and every time they go by and it was there, my parents would grab it.
And a new time machine.
Exactly. New time machine. And it would go through multiple iterations of things before it finally just fell apart.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
So a lot of that, a lot of Legos. And then once I got a little older, then everything was tools. So I would just go down to the hardware store and buy a machete. I had like way too young. I had a machete, was clearing paths in the woods, making tree forts.
That sounds great.
No, it's a very idyllic, like I can't complain about it, but I didn't really have toys. I had toys like at Christmas, but it was always like bikes or things that I could build things with the exception of Legos.
That's
Legos
very cool.
was the only thing that
I had the classic, like, it mostly matched up with the cartoons that I watched.
Sure.
So like Ghostbusters, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Marvel. And then I was also recalling that when we were talking about Skeletor.
Right.
We came across that. I also had a lot of He-Man toys.
Oh, interesting.
Never watched He-Man growing up.
It's a little older than you, because it's old for me.
Yeah, so I had these toys like out of context.
Just like what's this ripped gentleman?
I guess they ride the Panther?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
No, it's funny because now I collect.
Yeah, now you're into toys.
Weird. It's very funny. It's kind of funny.
And you're just throwing away boxes.
I'm like, I am some weird cross between a 12-year-old and a 40-year-old nerd who because I collect the thing, but I want it out of the package and I want to like articulate its arms and then put it on. Then I put it on a shelf and don't touch it forever and forget to dust it. So I guess I'm like this weird hybrid collector, but and also like
you're mint like new.
Exactly. But I'm collecting like more characters that I like. So I'm collecting like Indiana Jones, or like I'm not going out and like getting the whole set.
That's great though. I mean, I totally get collectors. I own a record store, so like I interact with collectors. I am a collector of things, but I also really respect the idea that like you get the things that you want and you actually take them out and like interact with them
and play with them.
Yeah.
My sister had a dollhouse, like a pretty intense one. I think it might have actually been my mom's.
Okay.
Like beautiful filigree, tons of stuff. And we would play with it when it was raining. And I would typically make the mom and the baby do like ninja fights with each other.
Sure.
And so and
your one G.I. Joe kicks down the door and kills everybody or whatever. Yeah.
Well, so it was weird because the baby's legs perfectly matched like the mom's neck. So she could do like these like scissor kick and like flip them over and fling them.
It's good.
So I had tons of fun with that. But no, dolls... Or like action figures weren't really a thing that I had. I think I had like. Do you remember those like the parachuting army men?
Yeah.
So I had a bag of those.
Sure. Yeah.
But that's about it.
Yeah. So Queen Esther. Man, I'm really disappointed because I wanted you to have Bible toys.
Oh,
those have to exist, right?
Oh, got to.
Do you think that they made toys to go along with this series?
That is a
like, do you think that there's some Moki toys out there?
Oh, I hope so.
We'll look it up.
By the way, if anybody out there knows that they do exist, please tweet or Instagram or email us. We need to see, and depending on the price, I will buy them.
Yes. So Queen Esther, I have to say, going into this, I did not remember this story at all. And it came back to me as it was happening, but only about halfway through, I was like, okay, right. Which is weird because I also actually like the story. I remember liking it, hearing it, and then it for some reason, I feel like this one takes a little bit to get going.
It's got a slow burn.
And so it took me a really long time to finally be like, oh, right, this is the one.
So I weirdly had the same experience in watching the cartoon. I actually watched this with my wife this time. She hasn't watched the previous ones, but the reason is like, this is the one that she watched all the time. She was like a huge fan of Esther. Her mom made her an Esther costume. She had like Esther was like,
what does an Esther costume entail? Just
I guess
queen?
Like a Persian queen.
Yeah.
So like, it might as well have just been like a Jasmine costume.
Sure. Right. Yes.
Probably.
Yeah.
Given stereotypes.
Absolutely.
So we watched it together, and like I was about halfway through. I was like, I think I have seen this one, but like through the first half, I was like, I don't think I've seen this one.
Oh wow.
Because I would have thought there's a few things early on that happened that I was like, I feel like I would have remembered this.
Sure. I have to say, this is, I think, the first one where, as Adam was watching it, I got a text that I laughed at, which was, he asked, is Jewess a word? And I looked it up, and it is a word. And Google, the first thing it says is dated, offensive, which I feel like kind of describes the series that we're watching. Dated and offensive.
Because Esther refers to herself as a Jewess. And I was like, is that a term?
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not right. So I texted Nick about it. There's also later, and it's not there. This episode, a lot of anachronistic jokes.
Lots.
More than, and like, there's been none in the other ones.
Right. Yes.
But like,
yep.
3 or 4 times they specifically like put in phrases or words to actively mess with the people. It's like the first time they've actually messed with the fact that they went back in time.
It's like they realized they could suddenly do this gag and like, like they started questioning like, what are these kids doing here?
Right.
How would people interact with them?
Although I will say, still, very beginning starts again, coming from somewhere, going to where.
Yes, so let's get into it. The episode starts with, again, aimless walking at night.
And hungry.
and hungry. There's these themes, which, if you've got a series and you want to keep pulling in
Sure.
great.
I mean, I guess maybe it's probably one of those things where
Moki's always the one that's hungry too. We should point out.
Fucking always Moki. They also referred to their own age in this one a couple of times.
Yeah, we'll get there for sure.
But Moki talks like, I'm a growing boy.
Yeah, right. Yes.
And it's like, you're a boy?
Yeah. There's a lot of age confusion. There's a lot of confusion going on.
But then they start hearing what is very clearly like tambourine and like bassoon type, Middle Eastern stereotypical music.
But it's so quiet. I had to pump the volume quiet. So loud because I was like, wait, are we supposed to hear this?
Which I guess good on them for actually doing, usually it's not like this blasting thing. And they're like, do you guys hear that? Well, yes, we all fucking hear the really loud. Anyway,
right.
But again, Derek with the not being able to identify sounds because unless it's was that my stomach growling or do I hear music?
Right. Yes. This is right. Derek says a phrase that once again, I keep writing down these phrases that I'm like, is this a phrase? Because it's said so naturally and everybody apparently understands. He says that he's so hungry, blah, blah, blah. My stomach's pushing on my backbone.
I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Also, your stomach is empty, not full.
Yeah, it's getting so concave that it's pushing against. I don't know.
It's
a weird thing to say.
When you're hungry, I don't feel it in my back. It's like front sides.
No.
If the hunger pangs are more like.
Yeah. That might be Derek might want to get that checked out.
Correct. There's a lot of things about Derek that he might want to look into.
So they're walking around, they find the city. This is one of those moments where, and I actually kind of am hoping that Alan will at least call us on the prayer hotline for this. I'm begging for Alan to call us for this because I would love to have his distance calculating, like how much they're walking.
Right.
They're just wandering around.
Yes.
And suddenly, it's this town. I want to know their route. I want to know how much they've walked.
So here's the question. Did they fall once into this place? Or is this a cyclic? Because in my I'm realizing as you're talking about this, your assumption is they fell once and have been wandering the Holy Land.
Oh, and you thought that they just keep bam, 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 bam.
Correct.
Oh,
but here's the thing: is it I'm questioning my own interpretation of this because is it like a Groundhog Day? Like they kick out at the beginning of the day and they fall in and go to again? Because otherwise, why do they keep falling down the damn hole and going through the portal?
Wow, that's really interesting. I can't believe that we've been interpreting this in two different ways.
This is a big deal.
This is a big deal.
I think canonically, let's go with your interpretation because yes, I would like to know.
But it would be funny though that they keep.
Well, they have to. They're jumping through time.
They keep jumping through time, and also the thing that happens because they jump through time is that they're fucking starving. like your body remains the same. None of the food inside of you. remains.
All right. I like that idea. We're just gonna skip past that. They've got clothes on then.
Yes, right. Yeah. So they get to the town and they pretty immediately meet Queen Esther.
Yeah,
she's not a queen yet, but
correct. But she's just hanging out in front of her house as there's a very pleasant riot going on.
Yes, with all of the men doing lots of things.
All the men.
And
the misogyny is up to 11 in this episode.
It's real bad. They tap her on the shoulder and do excuse me, miss.
Right.
And it's so this is voiced by Helen Slater. Is this one of the ones that you knew?
Okay. No, I know Mordecai.
Okay. So Helen Slater was Supergirl.
Oh, really? Okay.
Also on The Secret of My Success
TV show?
I don't know. City Slickers and The Legend of Billie Jean. So the men are all going to feast. We are also introduced immediately to Mordecai.
Yep.
Which my pronunciation, not your Mordecai. Shit.
No, they said Mordecai.
Mordecai.
You're right. And so that needs to canonically, I need to change it from Mordecai to Mordecai.
Not that I would trust this cartoon to inform anything. So this is Ron Rifkin.
Ron Rifkin.
And what do you...
I know mainly from Alias. He was, which is, but I know he's been an established actor.
And there's our second Alias credit on this little cartoon.
Who was the first one?
It was somebody in Jonah was an Alias person.
Weird. But no, I mean, Ron Rifkin's been in, I remember he's been, what's the secretaries for the president? All of the people who are around the president.
The cabinet?
Cabinet. He's been a cabinet member in some movies. I
Okay.
can't remember what. Like it's like some like disaster movie. He's
typecast as a cabinet member? Is
right.
that what you're
No,
saying?
there's one where they're like having to get like 3 cabinet members to sign off to like nuclear bomb a city, and he's one of them. I have a scene in my mind where they're on an airplane and he's one of the cabinet members. He might have been the one cabinet member who's like, no, we're not going to bomb New York City or something, and then they shoot him and do it anywhere. It's like one of those things.
So the credits that I have for him are Alias, LA Confidential.
Oh, who's he?
Dragonfly, and Boiler Room.
Yeah.
I don't know any of those things.
Oh, really? Boiler Room was Vin Diesel's breakout. Like he was been around, but that was his like big.
Okay.
And then I don't know Firefly.
You think Ron and Vin stay in touch?
Yes. I think they played D&D together.
Okay, great. Yeah. So all of the men are going to this feast.
Right.
No women allowed.
No, and because they're like, but they're also like honoring the princes of this city,
Yes.
but it's men only.
Men only.
And everybody's
and there's
fine
apparently
with
a lot of men. Like it
Yes.
keeps coming up. Like how many men are going to
All
be at
the
this
men.
thing? And so
And Derek and Moki just immediately throw Margot under the bus, like, "Oh, well, we're going.
yeah.
You're
There's
screwed.
a feast.
We'll bring you back
Peace.
something."
Yeah. I'm sure that there's to go. I
Right.
think Moki says.
Also, again, with their nomad friend Moki, they're insinuating that Moki is a local in wherever this dig is from all of the context, except everything about Moki is that he's dressed the most normal. He has the most American like references.
Yeah.
Is he just homeless in the US?
Yeah.
Is that what they mean by nomad?
I don't know.
Anyway.
He might be like couchsurfing.com or something,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, he's in college and he just like has been on a year abroad for
right.
10 years.
But he's not because he's a boy.
Right. Apparently.
Esther decides to make food for she and Margot.
Right. When they go in to talk to Mordecai because she's my cousin can take you to the feast.
Yes. And at this point, so we always get the like realization of like, oh my gosh, this is who this is.
Right.
And so this is when like Margot does some schooling. I feel like they usually give that job to her.
Margot. Yeah.
Because she's the one that like, for whatever reason, it's stuck in my brain that she's the one that scientifically explained to us how Jonah could live in a fish.
Right.
So Margot does some school and she knows that they're in Persia.
Right. The first time they've ever known anything.
Yeah. And, but that Esther is Jewish based on like the decor in the home.
Right. It felt like really obscure knowledge that she then, well, not like obviously the menorah. Like it was a menorah.
Yeah.
I think there may have been a Star of David, but it was mostly a menorah.
Right.
Which I don't know. In fact, no, I know
that
for
would have
sure
been, right.
it would not have been since that's a
right.
Maccabee thing.
Yeah. Maybe the menorah time traveled in as well.
Yeah.
And so the guys get changed into robes, nice robes, I
Right.
guess. And
Which they do a stupid like jump out of the.
yeah, they do this like dumb bit.
And-
I'm over talking about like the guys' bits because it's just like so dumb.
Just to add it because Moki's still wearing the hat.
Oh, the
baseball hat.
Yes. Yeah. Because how else would we know which character that is?
Right. It's got to be like, we don't want to do his hair. So we're just going to like leave the hat on. But like, what's great is that why did you get in costume? Like, why did you put on local clothes and then wear a baseball cap?
Yeah. So they're as they're about to leave, Mordecai says something that I love, which is he asks Esther to prepare like beds for them because he says really slyly, "I'm sure our guests will be sleeping with us tonight."
Yes. And like the whole thing is like, you're gonna fuck the 3 of them, aren't you?
Yeah, just like whoa, Mordecai, just like
like
creep factor
for the rest of the episode. I just was like to Diana was just making sex jokes. It's like everything that Mordecai says can kind of be like twisted.
Oh yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah, specifically Mordecai for some reason in this episode.
They also like Ron Rifkin. Like I've heard him act. He dialed up his accent like to a ridiculous level.
There's a lot of weird accents going on in this episode. I feel like this episode is jarring on many levels. Not the least of which being that it's probably the most boring one that we've watched. And so it's easy to latch on to like, whoa, this person's accent just changed. And there's like a German one that all of us, like there's like all of these weird, it doesn't make sense.
It's the 80s. As long as you throw an accent in there, we just, foreigner. Cool.
Yeah. It's a different place. It's not here.
Not here.
And so we're at this feast. And this is when we get Hasmin, the random panther palace pet.
Cat Sith? Like, it's a full... What is with this thing with panthers?
Yeah, right. Which they have, I believe chronologically, they've just confused panthers for crickets. And so now one jump, like you get the noise, wow, and then it jumps onto Moki.
Right. Well, first it eats it sneaks up behind him, eats his chicken leg or giant turkey leg.
Yeah, yeah.
And then like Moki tries to eat the chicken leg, it's gone. And then suddenly panther pounces on him.
Yeah.
And everybody's just like, it's fine. It's the palace pet.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, like get over it, Moki. It likes one person, and it's you.
Yeah, you are the pet.
And it's gonna eat up all of your medieval times food.
Yes!
That's the like all of the food is just like, oh, they just decided like, oh, I went to this one place where they made us eat with our hands.
It's got to be
probably the same stuff,
right? Yeah.
Okay, and so now we get introduced to the king. Do you know how to say his last name? Do you know what because they keep saying it really, really fast.
They said it really, really fast.
And when it's typed out, I'm like,
it's
wait,
all,
what the shit is this?
It's all consonants. It's like AR and then SH and T and Z's and stuff like that.
King Ahasuerus, I think is what it is. Ahasuerus.
Okay.
Which is news to me.
Right.
Like
maybe it must be in the verse and we just like went,
sure.
I don't know.
So that's voiced by Dean Jones, who was in The Love Bug, as well as Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo.
Excellent.
Beethoven.
Oh.
And Clear and Present Danger.
Interesting.
And we meet him because there's a bunch of dudes basically telling the king that he's rad. And then
also,
they
all of their beards in this episode.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The beard animation is on point.
Beards and hats.
Beards and hats.
Beards and hats aplenty. The storyboards have like 60 beards. It's like a character creator.
Right. Heyman's like falling apart cowboy hat / tricorn hat.
It looks like pizza dough. It looks like pizza dough.
Like you took pizza dough, tried to make a cowboy hat, and it kind of became
and
a
you
tricorn.
just like let it firm up in the sun a little.
Yeah.
Just kept it.
And so bad.
Yes. So the dudes around the king complimenting him a bunch and then are like, hey, can we see your wife?
Yes. It's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
like,
hell yeah. You can see my
wife. For your
wife.
stomach. We'll have a feast for your eyes.
Go get her so that my bros can check her out.
Look at her.
Yeah. And I mean, okay, so let's get this out of the way. In this series, absolutely, for males, the bar is low.
Yes.
Very, very low. It's getting lower.
Yes.
And Derek has, I think, the only feminist moment that I've seen, which is not a feminist moment. But again, the bar is so low. It's dismissed by Mordecai. But,
right.
He's like, oh, that seems weird,
She's
right?
Not gonna like that.
Yeah.
And then, Mordecai goes like, yeah, she probably wouldn't.
Yeah,
but
right.
You're going to do it because the king said to.
Yes, Mordecai says, you're probably right, but the king's commandments must be obeyed.
And yeah. I feel like Moki says something there too, but like,
yeah, right.
It.
Yeah, well, or he's rolling around with the panther.
With the cat, yeah.
So these guys go in and tell Queen Vashti to come out,
right,
so that they can all look at her.
Also, only person with like penciled eyebrows, just like her eyebrows are like on point.
Totally. And she basically tells them to get fucked.
Yep. Good for her.
Queen Vashti, like minor hero in this story.
100%. In this series might be the most like the best person we have met.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So then we get the guy with the pizza dough on his head. We get Haman.
Oh my God. And he's like the rubberiest of faces.
Yes. He is voiced by Werner Klemperer, who was in Hogan's Heroes.
Was he Colonel?
Yes.
No.
Yeah. Which is like a pretty big pull, I think, for this series. Well, at least at this point. I know that there's some bigger names, but he was also in Judgment at Nuremberg, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., G.E. True. So like television of a certain era.
But also like way before this, like 20 years before this.
Yeah. This is when we start getting those. So I made a list of all of the things that the kids say.
Oh, excellent.
That they're like, what?
Yeah.
So the things that they list off are car,
yep.
watch, Cinderella,
yes,
cool,
and
blast.
But what Nick is doing is the biblical characters reacting to them saying things, and it's It's insane because at one point, is it the car and watch where Moki and Derek go, it's an inside joke.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's not. You just talked about things from the future.
Yeah.
This isn't a joke.
Storytelling wise, this is a very confusing thing to just put into an episode.
You've messed with the narrative you've already established.
Like, okay, granted, we have not watched the first however many episodes there are up until this point.
Sure.
But in our viewing, this has not been a thing. So why 8-9 episodes in do you introduce this wrinkle? Why introduce it now?
Right.
And why is this the thing that throws off the biblical characters?
Right.
Not the clothes.
Nope.
Not the fact that presumably in the non-animated world, they look very different than these people.
Correct.
It's never a thing.
We're also, the massive conceit of we're just like completely ignoring the fact that everybody's speaking English.
Yeah, right.
I guess.
Yep. Albeit heavily accented German, British, arbitrary Southeast Asian accent, just like
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about the handmaiden who was suddenly doing some Southeast Asian, like pan Southeast Asian act. It's what? Did they just like put it? It's like, can you do an accent? Well, I can kind of do, Southeast Asian.
Yeah, great. Do that.
Do that.
Yeah. Where are y'all kids from? It's me. I'm from Persia.
Yeah. Oh, it's Persian Bob.
So the Cinderella thing comes out because, okay, so I'm skipping a bunch.
Nothing happens.
Once again, the biblical story is not interesting.
No.
It's the meta that is interesting to me.
Although this is another one where like you were saying earlier, this one takes a bit to get going. Like there's a bunch of weird, because we were watching it and Diana goes like, is this only a half hour? And I was like, yeah. And we had been watching it for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And nothing had happened. The whole story basically happens in the last 10 minutes of the animation.
Yep. And I think that's why maybe I was like, what is this story? It's like, did we talk about this?
Right.
And they're introducing this king and like, they're introducing these names that are just not connecting me with,
Although I'm trying to remember hold on, I texted it to you. I'm going to look this up. The name of the two I think it's the two assassins.
Yes.
Because they're not named in the Bible. Also, I'd forgotten that there was a whole assassination plot. And when they start talking about killing the king during the feast, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's introduced very weirdly.
Yeah. And it is Big Son and Teresh.
Yep. Yeah, like
Big Son.
Yeah, you said that it sounded like a hip hop group or
Big
something.
Son and Teresh.
It seems like, to me, it sounds like one rapper and one country guy like doing a collab.
100%.
Like a radio friendly collab.
Like a Big and Rich thing where it's, what do you call it? Like it's not even like pop country. It's like parody pop country or something.
Right.
Oh shit. What's that? What's the group? The Comedy Bang Bang
Memphis,
guy.
Kansas. Yeah. Memphis, Kansas Breeze. Yeah.
By the way, everybody
Totally.
look at Memphis, Kansas Breeze. It's amazing.
Please do. So okay. The king's Queen Vashti's dead.
Gone. Yeah.
Presumably.
They said they banished her. So in this version, she's not murdered.
Okay.
Great.
So the king's looking for a new wife. He's gonna send out all of his guards or whatever. They're gonna go through the streets and take ladies.
See, here's the thing. In my memory, it was like voluntary. People just showed up. They just went in and the guard literally kicked the door in, grabbed the daughter, brought her out, and then the parents came out and were happy about it.
Yes, totally. And so word gets back to Esther and Margot, and this is when they start talking about how this could be a Cinderella story,
right? Cinderella,
which suddenly I was like, oh, is Derek the feminist in this one? Usually Margot is the eye rolly boys, whatever thing, and she's completely enamored with this.
Although she turns into a 1940s character as soon as the guard starts talking. Do you notice that? Well, see here.
Yeah.
He's no, I'm not gonna go with you. He's get your hands off me, you monkey.
Yeah.
What's she called? Buster? Get your hands off me, Buster.
Buster. Margot's totally enamored with this idea. And we get the chariots. We have to talk about the chariots because they have the manic horse faces, and they all peel out, and one goes apparently 2 chariots lengths away and stops. And opens just walk.
It's great. There's also like the resting animation through this whole. I don't know if you watched in the background the resting animations, because the resting animation for the horse would be like, look forward, pause. Look to the side, pause, look forward, pause. And like it kept doing that. But the best one was when it was all of the women waiting.
Yeah.
And it's like they're all in like this kind of group squad area.
Yeah.
And Margot's in like the front corners because she's, the person we care about. But they're all of them have waiting animations with their heads just like going from right to center. Right, center to left, back to center, but they're pausing each one. But like, it makes no sense because there's nobody to Margot's, her right.
Yeah.
And so, but she keeps looking that way and then like staying there for a couple seconds
really funny.
and then coming back. It's amazing.
Maybe they're all like glitching out in the time travel narrative.
That would make sense because it's really concerning.
The kids have not actually time traveled. They're interacting with these things. It's like a computer simulation, and the background things are all glitching out, and they don't notice.
They haven't seen
it. If they see it,
then like, oh,
that's their out.
It's like the double cat in the Matrix. Like,
yeah, totally. Okay, so this guard,
right? Sorry, Tarsik. They named the guard.
Yep, they sure did.
We needed his name
because they need to distinguish his name, not Buster.
My name's Tarsik, not Buster.
He bursts in, he checks Esther out, checks her out, circles her with the hubba, and says, "You are not unattractive.
Yes.
The king might find you amusing.
You are not unattractive."
God.
So good.
I mean, I know it's kind of the point of the story, but it's also just like extra gross feeling.
I think we've talked about this in, I think, every episode, but like the disconnect between the seriousness of the content and like the fact they're trying to like shoehorn in jokes.
Yeah.
Like you're taking these ideas, like these like really hyper real, like stereotypes from cartoons and shoving them into these narratives, and it doesn't work. It just, it falls so flat.
Yeah. And this is when we get the age reveal.
Right.
That they're not out of high school yet.
Right. Margot's like, I haven't even graduated high school yet. I don't want to be queen. And I'm like,
this raises a lot of problems because from the beginning, they're archaeologists.
Right.
Young archaeologists who are not out of high school.
Not out of high school. And to be fair, they look like they're 30s, in their 30s.
Definitely. And sound like it.
And because the
especially
actors
with
are in their
40s.
40s.
Yeah, totally. And wow, it just really like, again, why bring that in? I mean, I get it's like so
right, in context,
you're playing to your audience of younger kids who are like, oh, that could be me.
Right.
I'm also not out of high school and a young archaeologist.
And I have my nomad friend Moki.
Yeah. I too have a nomad friend with a random D on his hat. Yeah. What is it?
Don't know. It's not the Tigers. Lions. Detroit. Whatever. It's not a cat.
Okay, so we are also now, we get set up with the like Mordecai v. Haman tension.
I don't know if this is how it happens, but Haman is basically like raised to the best advisor because he's the one who goes like, you should get a hotter, younger wife.
Yep. Yes.
And the king's like, yes, you're in charge of everything now.
Yep. And again, I feel like this is when I started really noticing that the accents started changing.
Okay.
Especially like, I think that Haman like has this weird, like he plays up his accent a bunch. And I think because he is German, I think you get a lot of weird German things poking
natural
through.
Accent just kind of like slides in.
It's very, very strange. Not as strange as, and I'm pretty positive that we talked about this in the episode.
Okay.
But let's talk about the scepter and touching the tip of it.
So like how is it making all the sex jokes?
Oh my!
Touch it like always. Everyone's like, come in here and touch my tip. Just touch the tip.
And so they instruct all the women that if he like lowers his scepter to you, you have to touch the tip. And
we also need to talk about the queer baiting eunuch.
Oh,
well, it bothered me because like he comes out and he's just like the guy who, and I can't remember what the actual name is because he is actually named in, and he's a palace eunuch, but the way that they're the way that they cast him is they make him like incredibly effeminate.
Yep.
You know, like the stereotype 80s gay character,
Totally.
or 90s gay character. Like think,
right. This character who's like, we need to get you dressed up.
yeah, exactly. But it's like, he's not gay. He might have been, but he's a eunuch.
Right.
He was castrated before he went through puberty.
Yeah.
Like, that's not like
It's 1986. Gays, eunuchs, all the same.
apparently, like, it's just my brain kept going like, is this what they thought? Like, it was really like they
Right.
couldn't tell the difference. Like, all gay people are just like immature. Like, I didn't know what the.
I mean, dude, it wouldn't surprise me if there was some weird read of the eunuch servant thing that is like these degenerate whatever.
I guess.
You know?
Yeah,
it wouldn't be surprising.
It is always funny because, like, I don't know why, but there was this idea growing up in Christianity, and this may just have been my interpretation of what people, but there was an underlying sexual idea when talking about eunuchs, which is crazy to me because the actual process means that you miss.
Right,
Like,
yes.
It's pre-puberty. So like you don't go through puberty. You don't have sexual,
Yeah.
like a sexual awakening if you're a eunuch.
Yeah.
So it's a weird, it brings up a lot of weird issues for me.
Totally. And I don't think you can quote me on the fact, listener, that we are going to do a eunuch episode one
Yes.
day.
It's just, it'll take a bit of research.
Oh, totally. We need an expert.
We got to find me a eunuch.
So, okay, when the first lady, I think it's the first lady, when she goes in to touch the tip.
Yep.
Did you see what she does?
No.
She does this weird. I think it's like it's one of these animation things that they didn't mean for it to be this way.
Right.
But what she does, rather than like, because most of the women like touch it, like one finger. Boop.
Yep.
This one, this one does like a tickling the ivories thing where she goes, tickling. And I just like the idea of the king like looking at her like, oh.
Put her on the maybe list.
Cracked me up.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Followed up by Esther.
But the penis jokes are so right there.
It
like
is,
if it's not, I mean, they could have not leaned into it. And I felt like they went like, let's lean into it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Esther is the next one. The king has this gross comment that she's as tender as a dove.
But by touching her.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh.
Real bad.
And he gets like real in her grill. And you're like, oh, this is just gross. Like the whole concept is gross, but they kind of took it that extra step where you're like, oh, you're going to make us sit in it. All right.
Yep.
I mean, thank you.
Yeah. So Esther's going to be the queen.
Yep.
And now you're going to have to remind me because I feel like there's stuff missing from that portion. Like, is that really what happened? I for some reason I seem to remember because like we did this episode about her being like a beauty queen and there was like her getting like oiled up. And there's like, there is a weird sexual element of the process, right?
Well, yes. And they skip over it because it's basically that panning shot.
I mean, of course they do. Yeah.
Which also they're supposed to be fanning them, but like the way that the camera, it looks like it's just a man spanking women.
Of course. Yeah.
Which, you know, and like it's right after and then like the touch the tip and everything like happening all at once. It's like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that they're basically getting it all out of the way in that one panning shot.
Okay.
Because she goes through, I think it's like 90 days of being
it's a bunch of stuff
soaked in like, you know, milk or something like that to get.
Yeah, in pushing this story through very late in the episode.
Yeah,
they just like, she's the last one in, the king's ready. Right, touch the tip, baby, let's go.
Yeah, we had to keep all of that, like the cat stuff or the panther stuff in here. Like, essential. Can't touch that.
Essential.
But the story we may just like need to get through it quickly.
Yeah, and so she becomes the queen.
Also, Margot through this is like acting half offended, like, oh, but also like half like, yay, I don't have to be queen.
Yeah, her role is very strange.
I like that she assumes that she would have been chosen too.
And is she, like, I did not see her touch the tip. Like, I don't even know if she was in the running.
She was in the next step. She was the next person in line, and like, it's like, yay.
And so after she gets
also Derek and
appointed
Moki
queen
don't seem to be concerned about this.
No, not at all.
Okay.
They have their own friends in town. And this is where we suddenly get the Slay the King subplot, which happens very fast. And I did a celebratory oh, it's the city gate.
Right.
I got really excited.
But then the city gate looks like a side door.
It does.
I did not. I think that's what threw me off. It's in my brain, the city gate is this massive fucking. Well,
it's the Samson door.
Yeah. When we talk about this in the actual Esther episode where
the city gate seemed very important to your biblical retelling of this.
Did not give a shit about it in this animation.
No.
Short shrift.
In fact, I think really the only way it's brought up is that they say that he is the gatekeeper.
Right.
But they're really just standing in a hallway or something.
Right. And it's gardened around. So it's it literally does look like the side door. Yeah. And maybe that's the thing. Maybe Mordecai thought he was this a hotshot gatekeeper.
Right. But so part of this, the biblical telling is that he's at the city gate where it's very bustling.
Right.
And he's always kind of overhearing, he's a guy in the know, and there's nothing going on.
No, they also in the Bible, he doesn't have a job. He's just going and hanging out at the city gate.
Yeah,
he's not the gatekeeper. He's just a dude.
But it does seem essential, at least in this telling, that he is a gatekeeper because it is he works for me. Later on it's brought up.
Correct.
Which makes sense.
Yeah,
in a story.
From a story,
sense.
it makes more sense than what my impression was.
Yeah. Oh, you mean that guy that's just always out there?
Yeah, freeloading Mordecai. Yeah. I know him.
So we get the Slay the King subplot, and now's when the execution orders start rolling in.
Right.
And I got really excited that we were going to see some executing.
Yeah. Nope.
Which we don't, but we do see an executioner for a moment.
Oh, I missed it. I was making a stupid joke.
When they're about to pan to what you presume to be the gallows or whatever, how people are kind of lining up. They do two different pans, and in one of them there is an executioner, and in the other one he's gone.
Oh,
and
maybe it was the Grim Reaper,
maybe, or another glitch in the time travel thing. Yeah. But the executioner A+, looks like your classic. He's extra giant and has the
side
triangular black hat with just two white cutout eyes.
Excellent.
It's so good.
I will go back and watch that for that.
It's just a lot of yes, kill them, whatever. And then it's this whole plot is found out with Haman and Mordecai. The beef intensifies, and Haman gets the king to send out this notice.
Right.
And the notice looks awesome.
Yeah, the notice looks like what you would assume, the Disney animated Robin Hood. All of the Sheriff of Nottingham.
The text is so good.
Yeah, it's kind of. Although I realize it's kind of what the Asian writing on to-go boxes, like Chinese to-go boxes. It's not Persian.
No. There's nothing that.
It's faux Chinese.
Also, it's in English.
It's also in English. Which I feel like this is the time they could have written it actually written in Persian, because there's a person who's going line by line reading it.
I was expecting it to not be, because they kind of zoom in on it.
And then it's, that's English.
Yeah. Back to back, I started getting really into it right now, because you see this cool executioner and then this notice, and I was like, they got some cool animator on board to do these things, and then that's all gone.
Yeah, they didn't actually kill anybody.
I also started cracking up because right now we get the subplot that always happens where the characters start to get antsy.
Yeah.
And they're like, we gotta get out of here. So Derek, who's not really been a part of anything.
Nope.
It says we're going to have to be going on our way soon, which again, where the fuck are you going? Why now? As things are building to a head.
I don't know. I do not know. We've got to get to the next waypoint so that we can be teleported somewhere in time.
Right. Yeah. So they see the order. They come for Mordecai, and dude tears his garments.
Oh yeah,
just straight up in half.
Correct.
No effort.
Yes.
Whatsoever. It's just it is time.
Yeah, and it's very simple. Was this scored perfectly to rip?
Yeah. And it's time for your favorite sackcloth and ashes, baby.
And let me just say, Mordecai's sackcloth, he looks so good. He goes full Jedi.
It's basically just a brown hoodie.
Yeah, but it's he looks, because he's kind of sitting cross-legged on the side, and it's so good to me.
But it's also not we looked up what sackcloth and ashes was, and it's that's what we assumed it to be.
Right.
But it's not. It was goat fur and shit, right?
Right. Also, Diana got a really good kick out of the messenger that's sent to Mordecai from, because, totally skipped over Esther and Esther and Margot living it up. And and she's like, something's wrong. Like everybody seems like nobody's walking around and everybody seems sad. Go find out. And it's like, and so like the lady's like, oh, it's because like your cousin Mordecai is going to be murdered. And she's like, oh, well, let's send him a new set of clothes.
Yeah.
Like that'll make him feel better.
Tell him to buck up.
Right.
Yes. But that's like immediately then like she doubles down and then like Esther suddenly goes boss mode. And this is when you get the cool Esther that everybody likes.
Yeah.
Everybody likes the story of Esther because she's rad and she starts like, also, she's going to figure this shit out.
Margot knows some of the biblical stories. Like at what point does she go like, hey, Esther, you kind of need to, but she's like playing into this whole thing. Like I'm a handmaiden for the queen.
This is the thing. So in the narratives of these, they're always... The ones that we have watched, there have always been like an expert in the story, present in the story, and there isn't one.
Nope.
They're like on their
narrator,
own. And so it seems like Margot is kind of given that role,
but they
not
still doing it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, and so when Esther sends him the new robes, Margot says, "Oh, a new outfit always gives me a lift." Which is just like, fuck.
What are you doing?
Why write that in?
What are you doing?
Esther goes boss mode. Meanwhile, Haman is on cloud 9 about the banquet that he gets invited to. He's like peeing in his pants. Telling his wife.
Okay. This was my Haman's wife, my favorite. She's like, she's on this chaise lounge, the whole, she doesn't move. From the chaise lounge. And she's eating, I'm saying olives. Might be grapes.
Grapes is what,
But like,
sure.
I can't do it now, but like I had a whole thing like inner monologue going with Diana that like we were dying at where she's just like, I'm gonna have a grape, listen to my husband eat another grape.
The first time that he comes to her, she doesn't say anything. They don't
like popping like just and she's like shoveling these spheres, green spheres into her mouth.
Yeah, the second time she actually does, and that's when she gets the like weird like East Asian or like what is that accent?
I don't
know. Haman. My favorite thing about this is that Haman declares, like, prepare my finest robes.
Yep.
Then he is seen going to the dinner in the same exact outfit.
pizza pie, like,
yes,
nothing, hat on, same thing.
Nothing has changed. And they are eating this feast on these weird loungers.
Yep.
Everybody's eating on loungers.
This is a thing that I'm thinking this is where my impression that all, like, Middle Eastern places ate like this was from this damn cartoon.
It's a weird thing, and I'm sure it's not correct. But I also like from a personal standpoint, like I don't want to eat laying down
and like laying side. It's the most uncomfortable looking way of
like you have to prop yourself up with one elbow and then shovel medieval times food into your face while your body is horizontal.
Correct.
Just sounds messy.
Right.
And like you would not be digesting very well.
No.
Haman's wife appears in this.
Yes.
Is this canonical?
I believe so. I believe that
we do talk about.
exists.
Okay. But my problem with her, I know you're a fan, but my problem is that like she's the one that like has these evil suggestions, right? It seems like she's the one that's feeding the venom. Like.
I mean that makes sense for what they're setting up. That it's never the man's problem. Like it's the women poisoning these men's minds.
I guess, but yeah, like it at least occurred to me like it's so easy to make pizza dough guy the villain, right? Who's just like
he's there
nefarious. Already. He has a motive, whatever, and she's just feeding him all these things and like I need to eat more grapes, bigger grapes, and I will only get bigger grapes if you become the pet.
Right.
So. I think maybe my favorite scene now happens where the king is sleeping.
Yes.
And he is sleeping.
I'm sorry. You mean Hemsworth King?
He is sleeping in only cuffs.
Correct.
And earrings. Wow.
Jesus. Holy shit. He is cut.
It's so good.
Which, like, I think in the next scene, I'm like, I was like, I am buff and you'll never know because I'm wearing these robes to cover it all up. But he is like a Hemsworth.
Yes.
Just amazingly cut.
Yeah. And so this is when he like, I mean, even in the biblicals, I don't really understand. Like he has the nightmare and he's like, let me flip through the book. Did we ever?
See, here's the thing. In the Bible, like the story is he basically calls in the the historian,
Right.
and has him read to him,
Yeah.
which makes a little more sense. Like, just
Sure.
read to me and I'll fall asleep because it's so fucking boring.
Yeah.
In
This one does seem
they
a
just
lot
give him
more
a book.
and it seems a lot more deliberate. Like, I've been thinking about this guy. Did we
Right.
ever? Who is that guy? Oh, that's his name. It seems a lot more deliberate,
Right.
which is fine for a storytelling purpose.
Sure.
And this is when I started like checking the time on this.
Yeah.
Because I was like, man, this one seems long. Like as a kid, I feel
Right.
like I would find this so boring.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of adults talking.
Yeah.
And like they've removed the fun, like the
murders?
yes, the murders. The meta that I enjoy is like basically completely removed at this point.
Right.
And I feel like the whole episode kind of suffers at this point.
Oh,
It's
for
just,
sure. Well, and like the whole, like the 3 meals, like it makes even less sense in this context. Like, I know that that's what really happened in the story,
Yeah.
or like that's what happened in the story. But like her just like being coy and saying like, I want you to come back for another one is just dumb.
Yeah. Right. Yes. The king is restless and tries to figure this whole thing out. He does. The Haman Mordecai thing comes to a head, and then the roles get reversed. And what I love about this is like you got to hang someone,
right?
Like somebody needs to be.
Yeah. We
killed.
can't have it this is a 0-sum game. Somebody will die.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if you saw this, but like when Mordecai is being pulled on the cart.
Yeah.
And Haman's like, sarcastically saying blah 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 blah. The cart looks like it has a boner. Like it was, and it's just like
it's a cart from Beauty and the Beast.
yeah. Well, so it's supposed to be the post that connects to the horses.
Okay. Yeah.
'Cause it's being pulled, but there's no ropes off of it.
Oh.
And so it's like there's this tongue.
Yeah.
That's like sticking.
That's really
and
funny.
it was disconcerting because like, why is there like just this phallus pointed at me?
Despite it being like a central crux of the story, I was zoning out heavily on as soon as like it was parading him through the streets and whatever.
And nothing really, and like it kind of was the end.
Totally. Yes. The message gets relayed that the Jews will not be killed. And the thing, I know that this is in the Bible as well, but they bring it up here. But if they're attacked, they can defend
fight back,
themselves, which is just like,
shit, Sherlock. that usually is the law. Like if you're attacked, you have the right to fight back.
Yes.
I don't think there's a society on earth where just like free citizens don't get to defend themselves.
Yep. So the story wraps itself up and the kids are now free to leave.
Right.
And they get their going away presents.
Which is apparently just bags of food.
Bags of something. Pans.
Could
maybe. We don't know.
And I felt like it's like we did pretty good misogyny wise up until this point.
Did we?
Comparatively.
Did we? I don't think we did, Adam. I really don't think we did.
For some reason, like at that point, I was like, hey, we're doing okay. And then they throw the last joke in. I was like, fuck you.
Yeah. And the last thing that she says is, hey, fellas, this is no way to treat a queen.
Right. Well, because she was like, what is she? She says like, I could have been queen. And so like, all right, your highness. And they give her all of their bags. And Moki and Derek just like run forward.
Yeah.
It's such
pretty bad. Off into the sunset to, we don't know.
Their next adventure, I guess.
In your enjoyment, where would you rank this episode based on the three?
The other three.
Yeah.
Oh, it's better than Jonah.
Oh, you liked it better than Jonah?
I think I like Samson the most. Mainly because of the mushroom weird hat, the priest hat.
And the glider.
And the glider.
The glider really takes that.
And the like flying through the canyon animation is stellar. It's a toss up between Jonah and this one. Like
I really did not like this one, and I'm really disappointed about it because I think it is like I do really like this story, but it just doesn't lend itself to an animated context.
No, and I feel like this one it didn't need much to make it a good story. Like you didn't need to juice it up much.
Yeah,
but they failed.
Yes, they did. Well, I think that basically does it. I do have one little review to share with you.
Oh, yes.
This is from the YouTube comments.
This makes me so happy.
And my favorite, I just have one this time, and it is, it's a little bit of a gripe.
Okay.
The gripe is, I don't particularly like time traveling shows, movies, etc., because they allow people to disrupt time itself.
Oh, I really hope that this person just came to this. This is the only, like, completely out of context. This is the thing they watched, and their gripe was the time travel out of all of the problems.
I presume that they didn't get past the intro. Like they watched the intro, and then they were like, "Fuck this! I don't do time travel."
Yeah, they
I'm
could
out.
just mess with time itself.
God damn it!
Oh, thank you.
That does it.
That makes me so happy. Hey, thank you so much for listening. You can follow us at KJV Pod on both Twitter and Instagram to keep up with what we're doing. Nick has been doing an awesome job of Twitter. I've been doing a terrible job of Instagram, but hopefully that will change soon.
Only a couple typos.
Yeah. Jeez. Yeah, I know. It's been a while since we've asked for your ratings and reviews. So if you have the time, and I know many of us do right now, please take a second and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Stitcher, or any other podcast review site. It really helps new people find us, and it is an easy and free way that you can help us out. So if you would like to help us out, we'd really appreciate it. Thanks to Mascaras and Resurrection Records for the use of our theme song, Kixari, off the album El Moran. And this week's Resurrection Records artist is Sexless. You can find links to these songs, to the stickers we have for sale, all of our back catalog, all sorts of things on our website, kingjamesvirgin.com.
That'll do it for us this week. Until next week, Alan, hear my prayers. Please make me a map of how far these characters have walked at night from city to city. Thank you.
Bye.
Hey babe, don't stray, don't run, still can clean up real nice, baby. What have you, man? Are you just I need some of the more.
Sonic Bazaar.